we're just gonna go ahead and dive right in. Let's kind of rip the the band-aid off. How did it feel walking into the room and seeing that letter?
Um,
Followed by, did you get to keep the letter? Like, you were adamant about it. Did you get to keep the letter? Obviously, what was that feeling like? And then did you get to keep it?
yeah, I mean, when you first walk in, your heart drops and there's this, but then there's this minute of, oh, maybe I got recruited, or maybe I didn't die. Like there's always this like thing that where you're like, maybe I just got saved somehow. But yeah, it really does sting, man. Like, wow, you just like, it's a game, but you can't help but actually feel like you're on your death sentence when you do it. And no, I did not get the letter. So if Peacock wants to send it in the mail, I'll drop my address. And well, actually, they have my address, so they sent me a check. So I mean, yeah, like send me the letter, please.
Yeah, you hear that, Peacock? Send the man his letter. So you come from a little bit of a different type of show than some of your other fellow castmates. Who did you feel like in those first couple days? Who did you feel like you initially pegged as potential traitors?
Yeah, I'm definitely from a different show. I actually pegged CT right away as a possible traitor. And the reason why is, which actually I can't remember if it aired or not, but so excuse me if I didn't. Uh, I kept saying to CT, I'm like, Johnny Bananas was the first one murdered. Makes total sense because gamer, really good at this game, always make it. CT, you should be next, like literally, because he's going to be the next great gamer. But he kept living, and I'm like, this is too weird. You should be murdered by now. Like if I were a traitor, I'd get rid of you. So he was my number one target. Where I was like, you have to be. There's no way. Like it makes sense. Johnny Bananas was murdered, and then you're still alive.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, he's played a heck of a game. It's kind of crazy to think about that. I was like, I thought the same thing. It's like this guy is too good. If you know anything about CT, he wins all of these games. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah,
like, yeah, we got to get rid of this guy.
totally.
Who were you most surprised to kind of build a connection with from the cast?
I was actually really surprised to build a connection with Peter. The reason why is because Peter and I, we met in the beginning, the entrance, and we just chat a little bit. We really didn't talk until that scene where you see us having that, hey, let's go after each other thing. And by then that I really didn't talk to him at all, and I was actually quite surprised that we actually built a connection. The next person I thought I was surprised with is actually Trishelle. Because more stuff like I consoled her for like why I didn't pick her first for the saving, and I just told her, I was like, look, um, we did a really good job dividing the castle, and if I would have picked one of you, it would have kept the castle way more divided. So I was thinking of us long term. And I really built a connection with her and consoled her a little bit when CT didn't pick her as well and everything.
Do you feel like maybe you got eliminated because you were in the crosshairs of being part of the Peter Pals, as Phaedra called you guys?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Like, I remember when I saw that scene with MJ again, and you know what? Look, when you're in a scene and you're sleep deprived and it's very intense, you can't really articulate yourself as much. What I was really going through my head was, one, I was suspicious of Peter because like I said, one of the rules I thought was if you get recruited, you get murdered. It didn't make sense to me that he was around. So I don't know where I missed that rule. So that was the only suspicion. But other than that, I knew he was a faithful. But with MJ, I really meant to say like, I actually think I put a target on my back now because I voted for Phaedra and our crew was the only one who did. I really think I put a target on my back. And I even talked to Sandra at some point. She's like, yeah, you got to read the room more. That's what she said. If you see the vote starting to turn your vote. You don't want to put a target. And I really did at that point.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing about it is obviously you don't have that strategic based background of these reality type TV shows. There has been definitely some insults thrown around on the show. How do you take some of that on the chin as gameplay and not as a kind of a personal attack type of thing?
Well, I still try not to get too involved with that because, like I said, I actually do have a pretty bad like reaction, to a lot of stuff, and I actually don't mind confrontation and arguments. But like I said, like this is the first time I'm with people who are in a game situation, and I know they can take things personally. This is not like Bling Empire where it's like we're all friends afterwards. If anything, you don't even get to build a human connection with these people to realize it's just a game. You're literally just playing a game. So of course it's easier to take things more personally. And so I just kind of kept that in the back of my head. So when MJ said something that was very stereotypical, right? Which is like, oh, Asian men are beta just by default. I was reading between the lines. Um, I found a chance to speak up a little bit, but in a way that wasn't insulting, but more like, hey, look, why don't you just check your unconscious bias here? Like we're not in stereotype land or Blazing Saddles where the Asian guy is the beta just because he's Asian.
Absolutely. Looking back now, what might have you done differently in your kind of your gameplay?
Yeah, in my gameplay, I would have trusted a little bit sooner. I mean, I went in there with my mindset saying, don't trust faithfuls, don't trust traitors, just don't trust anybody. But find the group who are going to find the traitors, right? Um, I would have definitely trusted a little bit sooner. Because eventually, I forget who it was that told me. It's like eventually you got to trust one or two people. Actually, it might have been Dan, and he ended up being a traitor though. But it's like you got to trust one or two people at one point.
If you could go back into this game with everything erased, would you want to come back as a traitor or as a faithful?
I would want to come back recruited as a trader. Um, a lot of my gameplay in the beginning was try to do a poker face, not to show too much at anything if I couldn't help it, right? And I think that really kind of made me as or don't call out names too quickly, right? But that was actually kind of trader behavior, which I now realize is probably not the best thing to have done. But I would have liked to have been recruited at some point for sure.